Hi everyone, here's another English language lesson. In this lesson, you will get help with your picture composition. I have some tips for you, so please keep watching. They will definitely help you to do your composition much better. So I have some pictures. Look at them carefully and let's see how you would go about a composition. Look at the picture and say something about it. Are you ready? Remember these things before you begin. Look at the picture carefully. Observe every detail. Understand it. Describe it vividly. You know that when you write a composition, it is very important to use interesting words and phrases that will give you more marks. You can add something related to the picture to make it more interesting. Sometimes the picture itself may not be that interesting. So if you confine yourself to describing that picture and say things like there is a boy in the picture, there is a dog in the picture, there are two trees in the picture, something like that will not be interesting. So you can add something related to it and make it more interesting. Will you remember that? Besides using exciting and new and interesting words and phrases, you can also add something related to the picture to make it interesting. Use interesting words and phrases that hold the reader's attention. Use a dictionary or thesaurus to help you. Nowadays, of course, everyone uses the internet, but if you do not have access to the internet, then a dictionary or a thesaurus will definitely help you. Speak in complete sentences. You don't want to say a dog, two spiders, one cup of tea. No, you have to say it in a complete sentence. This is English language. All right? So you would have to say something like, I can see a dog in the picture. I can see two spiders beside the dog. Things like that. With capital letters when you begin a sentence and a full stop when you end it. Or maybe you would choose to use an exclamation mark or a question mark if you want to use questions. You are free to write it any way you want. But let's begin with something orally. Here's your first picture. Look at it very carefully first. Observe it and try and understand what is happening in this picture. You can see a girl, you can see a dog, and what do you think is happening? I think they are having a tea party together. There are two cups and saucers, and she's pouring out some tea. Maybe it is the dog's birthday. Use your imagination. The dog is 12 years old and she wants to make the birthday party special. Or maybe they're just playing. They play like this every evening after the girl returns from school. Maybe it's the girl's birthday and she doesn't have any brothers and sisters. They've just moved to a new town. She doesn't know anyone. So she has not invited any of her friends over. That's her one and only friend, her dog, and let's name him something to make it interesting. Name her something. Maybe you can call him Bingo or Spatch. Okay, maybe you can call her Monica. Anything you want. I'm just giving you an idea. And then you can describe their meal. Describe what you think they might be eating. Dogs are not supposed to be eating pastries and cakes. So maybe she got something special for him. Looks something like a watermelon to me. Maybe that's his favorite food. Let your imagination run wild when you think about it. Okay? Now you can say that the meal was tasty, but you could use a thesaurus to, improve your vocabulary. Instead of saying tasty, you might want to say luscious, savory, full flavored, appetizing, things like that. Or maybe you would want to go the opposite way and say bland and uninteresting. The dog was looking forward to something like a pastry because that is what a girl usually got for her birthday parties, but he ended up with a piece of a watermelon, which he wasn't really looking forward to. Use your imagination. All right? Suppose you had a picture like this. Now you can say that um, a family has gone to a beach for a vacation. You can name the beach to make it interesting. Always use names of places and um, use dates, use months. That makes it more realistic and interesting. People want to read. And here we have the two children who are busy making a sandcastle. That's what children love to do. Name the children. And you can also describe what kind of day it is. It's a hot summer day. They have managed to make a beautiful sandcastle and then add something related to the picture. For example, you can say that as they were making that sandcastle, they looked out towards the ocean. They saw a boat coming in with a lot of fish in it. And near the boat, they happened to see a huge whale. The whale was coming up for air, and it was the most exciting thing they had ever seen. That was a vacation they would never forget. Something like that. Or maybe you can say that while they were making the sandcastle, they saw these shells and starfish on the beach. They started collecting those as well. And one starfish started talking to them. And you can add what the starfish said to them. All right, that's how you make things interesting. And also make sure that your first sentence and your last sentence are good. That means your first sentence should be an opening line. For example, for this particular picture, you might want to say, Mr. and Mrs. Smith took their children on a vacation last month. Something like that. And when you end, that last sentence should be a closing sentence. For example, that was a vacation they would never forget. All right. What about this picture? Now, I can say something like there was a dog walking by the lake and he stopped to look at his reflection in the water when he saw a fish, and he saw a starfish, and he saw a snake. He got scared and he fell into the river, or into the pond, or into the lake. That's the end of my story. But that's boring, isn't it? Make it more interesting. There was a dog who was very lonely. He had no friends. His name was Buster. He lived close to a pond and he wanted to go there, but his mistress was very strict with him and never let him go. So one day, when his mistress was busy talking to her friend outside, she left the door open and he sneaked out. He crawled towards that place so that she would not know he had gone there. And when he went there, he looked into the water and he was so excited about what he saw there. He never imagined he would see fish and a snake and starfish. He had never seen these things in his life. So he stared at them for a couple of minutes and they were upset with him staring. So they told him not to stare. And he was shocked that they could talk to him and he could understand what they said. He could not move because he was paralyzed with surprise. He stayed like that, perplexed. And then, after a few minutes, he got over his shock and ran home as fast as he could, sneaked under the bed, and hid the rest of the night. Something like that. What about this one? Mr. Frog went fishing one morning. Did he catch any fish? Use your imagination. Maybe he caught an old shoe. Or maybe he caught a shark. Or maybe he caught a spider. And then what happened next? Think. What about this one? So it's not just humans who can go on vacation, right? The cat decided to go. And the cat put on her sunglasses and went to the beach. Then what happened next? Started in an interesting way. Say that, you know, Magic was the name of the cat. You can call her whatever you want. Magic decided that she needed some time to herself. She was fed up of all the grumbling and the cursing that took place in her house. So she took some things and went to the beach one sunny morning. It was September, and it was generally very windy and rainy during that time of the year. This particular day was bright and sunny. She put up an umbrella, spread her mat, had her ball by her side, a few of her toys, and she posed for a picture. The waves looked strong. She decided she would not swim yet until she got some sunscreen on her. So after her picture was taken, she lay down on the mat and had a nap. While she had a nap, someone who was passing by was admiring her, and they decided to kidnap her. And what happened next? You decide. What about this one? It seemed like any other ordinary day in school. The boys were bored. They took out their books and began to read. But then a new teacher entered the class. They had never seen him before. They were so excited. The teacher walked in and introduced himself. He told a joke that made everyone smile and laugh. Continue. What about this? You can make any picture as interesting as you want. Don't be boring by saying something like there was a tree, two bushes, a boy, and what would you call that? A monster, a blue monster with horns. That's so boring. You might be grammatically correct, you might make perfect sentences, but if you are boring and you don't use interesting words and phrases, your teacher will not be impressed. And there are marks given for creativity. So be creative, use your imagination. Use a thesaurus, a dictionary, use the internet. Be interesting. So if I were to start the story, I would say something like, what should I name the boy? Raju? Okay. Raju had just discovered a new friend and he decided to take his friend to the park. It was the month of December 1995. Put in dates like that, okay? And he was in California for a 3-month holiday. Continue from there. What about this one? Look at the dream the gorilla is having. Interesting? What about this? You can make up whatever story you want. Just don't say there were two cats and there was a flower, and one cat was looking at a flower. Don't say something like that. Make up an interesting story. And this, I would say something like all dogs hate having a bath, but my dog loved it. But he had a particular way of having a bath. He wanted his tub to be filled with soap suds and a fragrance of cheese and butter. And only then he would step into that tub and he would not leave. something like that. And now it's time for some written work. Now that you have gone through all those pictures orally, you should start writing. Study the following picture carefully, then write a short paragraph of about 10 sentences about it. But pay attention to these things before you begin. Remember, it can be about the picture or related to it. Use interesting words and phrases. Keep your dictionary and or your thesaurus by your side. Start by leaving two fingers space. We are going to write just one paragraph. Make it as exciting as possible. Your first and last sentence must be extraordinary. Remember, the first sentence is the beginning, so it should be an opening sentence, and last sentence should be a closing sentence. Otherwise, it seems like an incomplete piece of work, like as if you got bored writing and you just stop midway. Don't let that happen. Okay? All the best. Here's a picture. Write something interesting about it. Just about 10 sentences. Doesn't have to be exactly 10 sentences, can be a little less, a little more. Make it as interesting as you can. And if you would like me to read it, to review it, please go ahead and email it to me. My email ID is in the description box. I'll be happy to help. All right, let's end here. I think this has been quite a long lesson, but I hope it has also been an interesting one, not just long and boring. I hope you have gained from it. I hope you've had some really good, helpful tips. Bye.